Good morning. It's me again, making this video today to tell you about my orientation class I went to for Pinnacle drive-away, and tell you about everything that happened and how it went. So I live about, 540 miles away from the place, and I took and had to be up there the next morning at 10 o'clock, and so to make it there on time, I ended up having to drive through the night, and I pulled over and took me a quick nap, a couple hours, and made it up there and got to orientation class on time and went in there and found the place and got me a seat. I took my newly taken or purchased DOT physical in there that I took the day before and sat down, and class started, and there was an instructor and two other individuals, and they was going through orientation as well. And then they had a instructor, and they had another guy remotely connected to the orientation class, you might as well say, and he was out in California. Orientation took place in Bristol, Indiana, and it basically looked like a staging lot that had a fence around it, numerous towable campers, and a bunch of straight trucks, which were step vans and Penske styled box trucks, but they were all white, and they had all those staged out in a row. And the orientation took place in to me it looked like a double wide trailer. Then they had a single wide trailer set off to the side, and I think that was more for the employees. So I got into orientation. Orientation was I think about 6 hours long from start to finish, and it consisted of a video and question and answers, reading out loud, and basic information that you get when you do drive away. And so the materials that I needed to show up with was my newly taken DOT physical and my driver's license. And they took a copy of my driver's license, took a copy of my DOT physical, and then they started the class. The class went on for I think 3 or 4 hours, and it was very boring. And the instructor seemed like he had no driving experience, and he was more of a person that works in the office. I mean, he had his knowledge down, but I don't think he had any real world driving experience to bring to the table. And there was two other drivers there. Neither one of them had a Class A CDL, and I wasn't sure what license they had, but it was less than a Class A CDL. I was the only one at the table that had a Class A. And so with the style of trucks that they're moving and equipment that they're moving, it's not a requirement to have a Class A. And after 3 or 4 hours of, you might as well say, instruction, question and answers, there was a road test. I went and did the road test. I got an instructor. He was a truck driver that drove tractor trailers for 40 years. And he seemed like he was knowledgeable in the industry. And he took and gave me the road test. Basically, we drove around a total of, I think it was around 15 miles. And I drove a step van, which was a uniform truck, a future uniform truck. It was a new truck. It had about 35, 39 miles on it when I started. And we basically drove that around. We went to a McDonald's, and he's like, pull up here and act like you're going to park and run inside and get a burger. I parked not in front of the dumpsters, but to the side, out of the way, on the parking lot, and that was the correct place to park. He pretty much monitored my speed, lane control, and following directions. And his directions was simple. He's like, turn up here on County Road number 2, go to the stop sign, make a left, and so on. It was pretty straightforward, no big deal. And then we had to go to a gas station, and there was a little bit of confusion with getting gas at the pump. So I had to move my truck around a couple of times, got in the right place, got the gas, got out of there, returned the truck back to the yard, got it back in line, went back in the building. I was expecting to be dispatched on a load, and since the day before I just got my fresh DOT physical, I wasn't able to take a load because the state of Missouri requires you to take your DOT physical over to the DMV and have them basically enter it or upload it into their computer system to show that, yes, you do have an up-to-date CDL DOT physical. So I thought that was kind of idiotic, and I learned the hard way, but in future I'll be sure and not leave it till the last day of my DOT physical. And I'm kind of a last minute type guy because I have so many arms in the fire and I try to get all this stuff done, and then I'm like, crap, I'll do it on whatever day, and then that day gets bumped to another day, and so on. But I mean, it happens with everybody that has a life. So I wasn't able to take a load. I ended up, right now, I'm still deadheading home, and it's the next day. I pulled over and took me a nice nap, and I was exhausted from driving there and then driving home. But after I took the road test, we went in there, I signed a contract with them, and they said, yeah, you passed your road test, and if you could drive a car, you could drive a truck that they have, and as long as you don't hit anything, you're all good, not break the law or anything like that. Just, it's common sense stuff. I signed a contract, and they're like, be sure and read that contract. So I thought, I better read this contract. I was reading through the contract. Let me tell you what I came up with. I usually have a 3-strike rule for companies, and people and situations, and definitely vehicles. If a vehicle gives me a third strike, that piece of shit is on down the road. No tolerance for that. But anyway, this company didn't get a strike for this, but I didn't appreciate the surprise. And I'll tell you what happened. I'm looking through this contract, and there's a fee that I have to reimburse them for. And I'm like, what the hell is this, a $120 fee? And I'm looking through there, and I'm like, oh, this fee is for my DOT physical, criminal background check, a couple other little charges. It all added up to be $120. So I'm like, what the hell? I gotta pay for me to get a job with these guys. So I'm telling you right now, if I was in Missouri, where I live, and went to their orientation, I would have got up then and there, walked out of there, and not gotten a job with these dudes because of that $120. And I got the feeling that, you know, they purposely slid that $120 in on me. That's how I'm going to phrase it. It's the old slide in. Like, if you go and buy a car and you finance it through the lot's like, hey, by the way, we got this fee of $350. It's a wheel fee in case you damage a wheel. And we're going to go ahead and put that on your $50,000 vehicle. But, you know, every vehicle has to have that. So that's the type of fee. That's how I took it. I mean, it's the old slide in. I didn't like that. And it actually pissed me off. But I had already drove 540 miles up there. I've already paid for toll roads, food. You know, I got some skin in the fight. All right, so this company, they don't have any skin in the fight if I'm paying for everything. You know, no skin in the fight. They ain't losing nothing. So I didn't like that. And another thing I didn't like about Pinnacle was they said, well, you know, we got this thing. It's called Act of God fee. And I'm like, what the hell's that? That's stupid. He's like, that's what we call it, is an Act of God fee. And each load that you do for them, it takes, and they charge you $5 each load. And that's in case of an act of God damage situation. For instance, I'll give you a for instance. For instance, if a rock flew off of this car in front of me and cracked the windshield on the commercial truck, then, you know, that would have been an act of God. And that $5 fee would cover it. I'll give you another for instance. Like, let's say an elk or a deer runs out in front of me. I don't let up and just slam the living shit out of the thing and destroy the vehicle. All right, that $5 fee will cover that. I just made it into Missouri from the Illinois. So anyway, that $5 fee will cover you. So that was another thing. I mean, I understand that because 98% of their trucks are new. I mean, I understand. That's cool. But to use the phrase act of God when it's not an act of God and charge you $5 for this, each load, which if you do the math, you can only do X amount of loads per week, and it comes out to be cheaper than truck movers because their loads, like let's say I do one load on Monday for truck movers, that's going to be a $29 fee. And if this load stretches out to where I can't deliver it until the next Monday, that's going to be another a $29 fee. So with Pinnacle, if the same scenario happened, it would be $5. So, instead of $60 or, $58, it would be $5. So you would save a little money there, but, maybe I'm just like splitting hairs. I don't know. But they do also have a program that they'll buy you equipment to do drive-away, and then they'll take a percentage out of each load to pay for the equipment. But if you do not pay for the equipment and you're just like, screw you, Pinnacle, and keep the equipment, never pay for it, they will take, and just like a financing a car or whatever, they'll put, a fee against you with like a collection agency, and they'll try to collect that debt somehow. I mean, it didn't say in the contract how they would go about that, but it did say in the contract that, if you don't return this and that, they're going to get their money, and they're going to get it somehow. I mean, I'm sure they're not going to send a big old burly bouncer Guido to your house to thump you until you pay them. They're not going to do that, but they're going to get their money somehow, some way. So, that was in the contract. And then also in the contract I signed, you're not supposed to do drugs, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to have a passenger. And then they go and say, hey, if you do have a passenger, the passenger has to be over 12. So I'm not even sure if you're supposed to have a passenger or if the passenger is supposed to be over 12. I mean, that's up in the air. I don't even know if the passenger needs to sign a waiver that they're not going to sue everybody if you wreck and hurt them. And so I'm not certain about the passenger, because like I say, I was pretty damn tired when I went through this thing. And the dude that was given the orientation, he I mean, I don't want to talk bad about the guy, but I mean, he wasn't as knowledgeable as he needed to be. I'll say it like that. I'm not saying, I'm smarter than this guy. I'm not saying that. That's not, what I'm saying. But for instance, like a couple of facts, he didn't want to talk about it, and he didn't want to confuse people, and he didn't feel he felt uncomfortable going down certain roads of facts that I wanted to know personally. And I mean, I can understand that to a certain extent, but it was like, he wasn't putting forth the effort that I expected. That's how I'll say it. But overall, thus far, it seems like an okay company. I mean, I'm not impressed, but I'm not disappointed. But one thing that I didn't like about what they informed me that I'm going to do in the near future is electronic log. So if you don't want to do an electronic log, you may not want to work for this company, because that's all they have is an electronic log. And honestly, I've never even done an electronic log ever. So, I mean, I can learn how to do it. It's not overly complicated. I could do a regular log. I'm sure it's not much of a stretch from a regular log, except it's electronic. So it can't be overly hard, but I just don't want to do an electronic log. I'd rather do paper. You know, I'm set in my way. So that's what's up with Pinnacle. I'm on my way home. I made it to Missouri thus far. Obviously, it's raining. And just wanted to give you an update of the Pinnacle. So if you guys want to get hired on, I mean, it's not overly hard. It's a big, lengthy, drawn-out application, drug test, orientation, and you're in. You're in like Quinn. So that's what I got for you today, guys. I hope this helped you out with a decision if you're going to make one. And get out there and make some damn money.